almost feels like I got a new lease on life. It's just when you go through certain things, it just resets everything. You start seeing things differently, and it's almost like another layer gets shed, and then you feel things deeper, and then you start seeing things differently. Anyhow, I don't want to make today's episode depressing. I was also thinking about, what do I want to talk about on the podcast in the upcoming weeks and months. By the way, I don't even know why I'm saying that, because I do have a folder filled up of episodes that I just cannot wait to tackle. And this is, again, one reason why I tend to release so many episodes on the podcast, because a girl has a lot to say. One thing I do want to say though is that we are gonna start diving into deeper spiritual concept, because I feel like I've been kind of like what's the word I'm looking for? I feel like I've been walking on eggshell a lot, because it's a topic I'm noticing there's more people are starved for those type of, that type of content and things that go deeper, because I feel like what we're seeing on social media. Okay, I'm not gonna go on another social media rant today. I'm not. I'm restricting myself. But what I want to say is that I think it's great, because we get exposed to so many things, right? So many topics that we would have never heard before. When I say we, I mean the collective would have never heard before. And for example, let's take the case of healing. I don't know if for anyone who's on Instagram or social media, for sake of transparency, I'm not on social media anymore, but I used to be. And I've noticed how social media is, if I have to say something positive about social media, it does, it really helps create this sort of collective culture and collective awareness. I really like the movement that happened a couple of years ago, maybe more than that, around psychology stuff, how we all started talking about healing, we all started talking about peace, maintaining our peace and stuff like that. It was great, but also, as pretty much what I noticed into happen on social media and mainstream culture, is that whenever something gets exposed, it's very easy for it to get taken to the other extreme. For example, with the healing, I'm going to take the girly, for example, because that was such a huge trend, right? All the healing girlies, they were so weird, because I was actually part of that trend back then. We were so into the healing, era, that we took it to another extreme, where boundaries were up to the sky, and it wasn't even looking like boundaries anymore. It was looking more like gates, like we built up gates around ourselves. So this is the problem I have with things like social media. It's amazing how it can create this nice segue into raising a sort of awareness and make us be aware of things that we might have never even considered into our mind before. But it's just, I don't know if it's because social media is such a content machine that constantly needs to be fed, and that's how one person is always out trying to outdo the other one, and then this is how we end up, this is how it's very fast for us to end up in taking things to the extreme almost always. So there's this lack of balance. Oh my goodness, how did I end up talking about this? So, oh yeah. So why I was talking about that is because I really wanted to start diving deeper into spirituality, into concepts that I've learned about, and things that I really do believe that everyone should know about. Even if you don't believe anything I say, that's not the point. The point is to maybe plant a seed, or again, awareness, because having something making you maybe think about something that you haven't even considered before, right? So that is the idea, because I always want to make sure that everyone knows that, I don't come here to tell you, oh, you need to do this, you need to do that. No. I don't know anything, okay? I'm literally doing day, literally walking in the dark, just like all of us. And I'm just coming here as a very humble servant, just like sharing what I learned. I'm not pretending to know everything. I'm not pretending to know anything, even. I'm just sharing experiences that I have and things that cross my mind. And I'm just sharing it, hoping that someone else would, find it useful, or it could just start sparking some conversations. So today I want to say, for disclaimer's sake, I also want to start talking more about, I also want to make some fun travel episodes, things like, because I'm probably going to be moving around quite a lot this year. And I would like to do some more light episodes, because spirituality can be so heavy. I don't want it to be heavy. I want it to be fun. It doesn't have to be, it doesn't, I don't want this to turn into like those fundamentalists, religious people who just think they're so much better than everyone else, and just they can't talk to you because they're so pious. They can't do this because they're so religious. I've grown up around people like that, and it's not fun. And even me, as my background, someone who went to like Catholic school with the nuns, and the all girls school and the private school, I grew up with people like that, thinking that they're so superior just because they know this, blah blah blah. So I don't want this to be that. So my goal is always to make spirituality fun. So I strive to do that by breaking some trying, quote unquote trying, because it's not easy, some very complicated uh I can't talk today. I try to do this by taking some deep concept and applying it into the day to day on the ground level. Like, I love to remind everyone, you're not going to hear me talk about those fancy terms like 9D human, or 6D, 12D. I lost count about, like, am I making fun of mainstream spirituality? Maybe a little bit. Okay, we need to like stop taking ourselves so seriously. But I just want this to be fun, lighthearted, and just making, because the spiritual work is work, okay? It is work. But at the same time, we need to find a way to make it fun and not be so consumed with healing, consumed with doing the work, consumed with, I can't talk to anybody unless unless you're on the same vibing and the same frequency as me. I mean, of course we need to, I'm the first person to always tell you to select your close circle very, very carefully. But at the same time, we need to be able to walk two lines at the same time, right? You very, very mindful of and discerning of people you let into your close circle, but at the same time, we need to be able to hang out with the crowd. you know so today I wanted to talk about a very important concept in Kabbalah, which is the concept of cause and effect. Now, this is, some of you are not gonna like this one, okay? I'm just the messenger, so don't come at me. And even for sake of disclaimer here, I myself was very triggered by this one. Another concept I was very triggered by also. I was triggered. That was a long, long trigger. We're talking about months, if not a whole year. I totally refuse to accept that. So this is why I have so much compassion when I talk about these topics, and I mind my words, because I understand. I know it might sound like someone might just check into my one episode of the podcast and think, oh, this girl is just, preaching on top of the mountain. By the way, I really hope no, you don't get this impression, because this is not what I'm about. But I'm just trying to say I understand, because you don't want to know which concept that I did not, that triggered me so much, and right now I just drop it casually. It's the concept of reincarnation. I know. Oh my goodness. I remember a few years ago. Well, I've always been like, whenever I would hear reincarnation, I would roll my eyes and just think, oh my goodness, these people are doing too much. Again, this is why I understand. We don't realize how much of a grip our socializing, our upbringing, our early education, how much impact and hold it has on us. Even if you're an adult right now, the way you were brought up will have some a very, 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 very huge impact on you, and a lot of time it's subconscious. You don't even realize that, which is why I really do think we all always need to We always need to expand our mind. We need to place ourselves in uncomfortable situations, read about, educate ourselves about uncomfortable things. Yes, we will get triggered, but then we sit in the uncomfortable emotions, and then eventually we get to the point where we can ask ourselves, why am I triggered? Is this actually my belief? Or is this something that was implanted into my mind from a family member? Or is it, ancestral beliefs that I've actually had no say in? So, going back to this example, because I think it's such a great example, because this is the core of everything, it's the center of everything. All like everything spirituality is just reincarnation is such a huge one. It is important. There is no, it's such an integral part of everything. You cannot talk about, if you really start thinking about, if you really want to start talking and diving into what is the purpose of life, why you here, instead of just thinking things is very random, you cannot do that without facing the concept of reincarnation. Now, what's that other term? I forgot which term it was, but it's actually funny because I was talking to a girl last time. I mean, not a girl. I was talking to a very good friend of mine, where she didn't use the word reincarnation, but she kept saying something else. Was it past life? Was it? It was pretty much. It was going back to the same thing, but I think it was past lives. She was like, "Yeah, of course, I believe we in past lives and stuff like that." But reincarnation was just like so. Sometimes it's just we're more comfortable with certain terms than others. So, where I'm going with this, to quickly close the whole like reincarnation loop, the thread that I just opened up, it's also because, again, in my upbringing, like I say again over and over again, because I have such tremendous religious trauma that I'm also, tackling and dealing with. This is growing up as a Catholic girl, reincarnation is not something that is part of the curriculum. However, if you dive deep, it's acknowledged, just we don't talk about it. We don't, I mean, I can't really say it's acknowledged, but it's more like you can deduct it from other teachings, but we don't talk about it. When I say we, I mean, it's not something that is part of the curriculum. For example, yes, they will mention your soul, but your soul is mentioned in passing. I mean, I grew up pretty much in French, so, you know, any French listeners out there, you'd hear the word mon âme. In a lot of prayers, they would talk about mon âme, mon âme, which is literally my soul in French. But that's it. It's just this weird concept. But then we don't really talk. There's no talk about what about that monam? What about that my soul? Can we talk about that? No, it's more, everything, the emphasis is more placed on this. This is the one life that you have, and you have to be a good person, and it's heaven or hell, and that's how it is. So no wonder why growing up like this. By the way, it's not a surprise that I have a podcast. I mean, when I was in religious school, I used to get in a lot of trouble as, a 7, 8 year old kid. I used to get in so much trouble because I would constantly ask questions. Nothing made sense to me. I would ask the questions, and the teachers, the nuns, would get so irritated and frustrated with me, and I'll get in trouble. I was seen as the bad influence for the class. I don't know why I was like that. I just was like that. So in a way, it's not a surprise that I'm here doing this podcast, talking about topics that probably triggering so many of you. Also, by the way, another fun fact is this is something that you can see in my birth chart. So again, this is why I'm always telling you, you need to get yourself a birth chart. Even if it's not from me, I don't care. Do yourself a favor and get yourself a birth chart, because once I really started diving very seriously into astrology and I started studying my birth chart and studying astrology seriously, I went, oh my goodness, everything made sense. If you look at my birth chart, everything about the birth chart is a rebel. Everything about the birth chart is communication, talking, speaking my truth, sharing that. My North Node is literally in, he's literally not meant to come here to be in a box. So kind of like shake the status quo. So I think it's really fascinating how the birth chart just literally shows you so much about what your soul, the plan that your soul came here to do. Oh my goodness, I still haven't talked about the topic of the day. So we're just gonna talk. So yeah, if you don't know your birth chart, do yourself a favor and get yourself one right now. I also leave all the links down below if you want to get one with me. If it's not with me, do yourself a favor. I don't care. Just get one done. Okay. So the concept of cause and effect. Now, oh my goodness, I went on a 15 minutes tangent because I wanted to talk about reincarnation and how reincarnation is such an important topic. And also the reason why I went on that tangent is because it is a huge topic that a lot of people are not comfortable with. And I wanted to expose myself and share that vulnerable part of my story to show you that I understand because I come from one of those backgrounds. So eventually, after many, many, many months of being triggered, I finally started opening up to the concept and then everything made sense. So, why am I saying this? Because we need to start seeing our life as a continuous thread. Right now, our soul is your soul is in this, your soul comes to this life with a mission statement. You can actually, again, see a lot of this, understand a lot of that, the purpose of your soul. What is the correction that your soul wants to do in this life? What are the strengths? What are some weaknesses? What is the work? This is the reason why I really do believe that astrology and everything, it works in as one. And the planets are pretty much messengers of God, of the creator, of the light, of the forest, however you want to call it. And because it's everything works in tandem. A tandem, oh my goodness, could you say that in English? Anyways, everything works in perfect synergy. And yes. So once we start understanding that concept, things slowly start making sense. I know it's very hard because right now you are in one body, you look a certain way, you have a set of parents, you have your life set up in a way. It's very hard for you to connect with previous life or next life that you might have. But on a grand scheme of things, let's say a bird eye view, let's say on your soul's perspective, because we're not talking about us right now in the physical body stuck in body consciousness, but let's say your soul is eternal, right? And your soul right now is like, it's pretty much like when it's summertime and then you planning your vacation, where are you gonna go? So your soul did the same thing. Your soul planned, all right, I'm gonna go on this huge human adventure and I'm gonna have so much fun. The same way that us girls, most of us girls, when we go on vacation, we try to plan the outfits, we plan the shoes, the all that stuff. What are we gonna wear? I know I like to do that. I'm super girly and I love things like that. I love the dresses and everything. And I'm always planning the dresses I'm going to wear. And I like to wear a new dress. I like it to be, really like flowery princess dress type of things. And so we plan those dresses in the same way your soul is kind of like doing the same thing. Your soul chose the accessories, like what it's gonna look like, what body are you gonna be, like black, white, are you gonna be, but the thing is, our soul is usually like, there is a polarity. The same things we see here in the planet is the same thing. It's the reflection of the upper worlds, of the metaphysical world that we cannot see. So there is female soul, male soul. I'm not gonna get into this late today, but like, for example, the reason why you born as a girl, of course, sometimes things get mixed up. And like, again, I'm not gonna get into that topic today, but nothing is a coincidence. That's what I want you to understand. So technically, you here now. You have to understand, like, when we die, it doesn't just end, right? It doesn't seem like there's a continuity because we cannot remember anything. We can't see the past, we can see the future. We're kind of like stuck in this time capsule. doing the life that you're doing right now, the assignment, well, most of us don't even do the assignment because we have no idea the hell is going on. What is going on? What is this circus? None of, like, most of us, I'd say the vast majority of humans, going through life lost in the 1%. I tackled that idea of 1% in the last episode. Oh my goodness, I need to start remember the episodes numbers, because that is why I started, numbering the episodes, because I wanted to say the number and refer it in the numbers so it could be, easy for you to refer back. So I promise I'm gonna get better at that. It was like my attempt at filing things. I have a very intense stellium in Capricorn. So stellium, if for those who don't know, it's like when you have a cluster of planets in a certain location of the chart, and I have like 5 planets in Capricorn. So I am not a Capricorn though. But I do have 5 planets in a huge cluster in Capricorn. So I do like to file things. I like things to be a certain way sometimes, and can be a bit of a workaholic. So, which is why or just to say that I need to start referring to the numbers, the number of the podcast. That way, it can be easy for you to refer back to them. So, like I was saying, what was I saying again? Our soul comes here on a grand adventure. Jokes on our soul, or jokes on us. Once we get there, most of us get lost in the distraction of the 1%. The 1%, which is the reality that we are seeing with our 5 senses, which is a total lie. By the way, another example I can give you, earlier I was looking for my hand cream, and I promise to you, by the way, I like wearing fanny packs. I'm a huge fanny pack girly, and I'm kind of happy that they're trendy right now, because back in the days when I was like 9-10 years old, I couldn't find them anywhere, but now I can find them everywhere, so I'm so happy about that. Anyways, I had my fanny pack on me. I promise you, I checked into the fanny pack 100 times. I couldn't find my hand lotion, and I started going crazy. I've been looking for that hand lotion for the last 3 days. Okay, and I looked into my bag, I looked into everywhere. I went crazy. Now, 3 days later, I'm like, okay, listen, this doesn't make any sense. And this is driving me crazy. And I'm like, the last place I remember putting this lotion was in my fanny pack. I mean, fanny packs are not that huge if they're like a typical size. So I went, where did this hand lotion disappear? It's my favorite hand lotion. It was brand new. I'm not just going to go and buy a new one. This one was full. So I went, I think it was probably the 5th time I opened. I'm like, listen, listen, universe, you gotta help me out here. I don't, what is this thing? This is driving me crazy. I opened the fanny pack. Kid you not. I remove my little Zohar. I always go everywhere with the little Zohar, which is like that little, it's like a protection shield in Kabbalah. I'll get into it another time. I always walk with it. I remove my Zohar. I remove, the other things I have in my fanny pack. And guess what? Lo and behold, that lotion was right there at the bottom of my fanny pack. Again, we're talking about a fanny pack here, not like a massive bag. You know what I mean? And I promise to you, I looked into the fanny pack at least 3 times and I couldn't find it. And when I saw that sneaky, and you know what? The lotion bottle is white and the fanny pack is black. So there should be a contrast. Why didn't my eyes see them before? You know what I mean? So I couldn't stop laughing because I went, wow, this is a perfect another example about how we cannot rely on our 5 senses. They can deceive us so much. Yesterday I would have sworn, oh my goodness, I lost the lotion because I looked in my fanny pack and I couldn't find it. It's the same thing, the same idea behind when you're looking for your glasses and you can't find them. Yeah, they're like right on top of your head and you're looking for them, you can't find them. Something else that my mom does all the time, which I always find so funny, is sometimes she's talking on her phone, on the house phone with the wireless in her ears and she's going crazy looking for the house phone. And I'm like, Mom, is it that, are you looking for the phone that you actually using right now that's on your ear? And then she laughs every time. So all these examples to tell you, to remind us that our five senses, it's amazing. Of course, we need to appreciate them because we get through the world, we get through our day-to-day life with our five senses. But there, we cannot fully rely on them. What I'm trying to say is that we need to remember that what we see is not the entire reality. So all this to say that this is the world of the 1% that we are navigating with our five senses. And then there is the 99% world that we cannot see. It's the metaphysical world, the physical world. And this is the world that our soul is always connected to because our soul is from there, right? Our soul is from that infinite world, that unlimited, divine world. Well, we know many people nowadays are comfortable with the concept of the light as that supernal energy force that we cannot really comprehend. Our mind cannot comprehend it. I'm not going to sit around. It's not because I'm a Kabbalah student that I'm going to sit around and pretend like I understand what it is. I just understand it and feel it as this great power, this great light that connects everything in the universe. That light that, this is the same light that some people refer to as God. Some people, but the problem with the word God is that I think like us humans, we took it to the next level. This whole idea of picturing God as like an old man with white beard in the sky wasn't really it wasn't really that great of an idea, but maybe that is my maybe it's only like, it's not only in my upbringing they did that, but this concept, we need to understand that it's an energy force that is really, our mind cannot wrap itself around it. But our soul is from there. Our soul, we are a spark of that infinite energy. We're a spark of that infinite light. So when our soul comes here to do this, this little soul adventure that the soul comes here as, let's say, chooses your body, inhabitates your body, and with the characters that you have. Now, there is continuity from the perspective of the soul. Everything is there's a continuum, you, even if you die, you reincarnate as another person, as doing another mission or continuing the mission. Everything is linked. So from our soul's perspective, it's one linear movie that doesn't really end. Every life is just a different chapter. You know what I'm thinking about? I'm thinking about Loki. Have you seen this Loki Marvel's series? Absolutely, absolutely love this episode. Where like and I mean, I just love the series at all. Loki, where you just seeing the concept of time, the concept of different reality. So this is what I always think about when I think about reincarnation. So it's just, you need to see like your soul sees life as one line. Everything is linked. It's like it doesn't. There's no, it's just all connected. And every life that we're living, every time you reincarnate into something else, into, like a particular life, it's just a chapter of the book, but it's the same book. For us, it feels like it's discombobulated. Hope I'm saying that word right because I think it's such a sexy word. Anyways, but on our soul's perspective, everything is linked, everything is connected, right? So, because of that, the concept of cause and effect, which means that everything we do, we kind of experience everything we do. Like, how can I explain that? It's more like what we sow, we get what we sow. So everything is like, everything you do, you're gonna get it back. That is mostly also like in terms of positive actions that you do, you're gonna get it back. Negative actions that you do, you're gonna get it back. So there's always a cause and effect. So this is why I feel like, this, oh my goodness, I have to hold myself so back because I don't want to get ahead of myself. I'll probably do another episode talking about cause and effect. But once we start, it's a very, very hard concept to grasp your head around. But once you start understanding that, it doesn't matter, everything is accounted for. There is no coincidences, there is nothing, no actions that go unseen, no actions. And I think this is what a lot of Far Eastern cultures kind of interpreted as karma. you can see it as karma in a way. I just always thought karma was so heavy, as in consequence. But the concept of cause and effect, you know, is neutral. There's no necessarily good and bad per se. Everything comes from the light. It's just neutral. It's just the system is like that. It's nothing personal. Nothing personal. So whatever you do, it's gonna come back to you. Doesn't matter if it's what we call good, what we call bad, it's all gonna come back. Everything comes, it's always circular. And once you start seeing things like that, it's, I'm not gonna lie, it's very hard to start thinking like that. But you start understanding things differently. Like I know I'm not expecting anyone, if that's the first time you're hearing that, I'm not expecting anyone to kind of like, get it, grasp it, because it's a concept that also took me a long time to accept. But it's a way for you to kind of like gain, it's empowering. Of course, us humans, we like, sometimes it's easy to be stuck in victim mode, to think that whatever's happening to you, why, poor you, poor us, we didn't, what did we do to deserve this? But everything is cause and effect, everything. So there is no coincidence. This is one major rule, that one major concept of one major Kabbalistic concept that I really wanted to introduce, because once you start going through life like that, everything is different. It's just. So let's say we did whatever you did in this life, either aka, quote unquote positive or negative, even if you don't experience the return, the boomerang effect in this life, because of the continuity that I explained at the beginning, that I explained earlier, it's gonna come back. Even if it's not this lifetime, it's the next lifetime. So some things you're experiencing right now has nothing to do with the lifetime that you are in right now. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it might be from the previous lifetime. Sometimes it might be from 5 lifetimes earlier. Sometimes it might be, you know? So I also, side note, think this is actually the idea behind the whole, in a lot of religious circle, you'd hear some stuff like blessings, or whatever you do will come, will be a blessing for up to like 7 generation. I really do believe that this is the same idea that was kind of like, extrapolated in that way. And another thing I do believe is, by the way, one of my teachers was talking about that. I can't remember which teacher it was, so I can't really say the name properly, but it's the concept of, again, it's the same seed level. Everything, there is nothing new under the sun. So everything we're seeing, all the other spirituality, all the other, like, interpretation, they all come down to the same seed level. And yeah, and then I'm sorry, but like the more I research this, like Kabbalah is literally like the oldest seed level. So I'm not here to tell people to convert. Kabbalah is not a religion, it's spirituality. In my Kabbalah courses, there's all sorts of people. There's like atheists, there's Muslims, Christians, Catholic, there's all sorts of things. Jewish, there's everything. And I think it's beautiful, because that's what spirituality should be about. It shouldn't be about separation, it should be about reminding us that we're all one. So one last thing I wanted to say is that I really do believe that this is the same concept behind what a lot of religious teaching in the Old Testament took to the kind of like maybe bastardized. Apologies for using that term, but it's the concept of, you, if many of you who grew up in religion, or in like, a sort of close enough to my own experience, would be familiar with the term of an eye to an eye. It was interesting because last time one of my teachers was saying that the whole, and then an eye for an eye kind of got taken out of concept for, and kind of got related to revenge. But it was never supposed to be revengeful. It wasn't about that. It was just a concept to let you know that, to let us know that the way the world is set up, everything is just. It might not seem like it's just, it might not seem like it's fair, but everything, all the things that we're experiencing is in direct reflection of some actions that we took in the past. Let that sink for a second. So let's say your soul might have been, like, I don't know, 3 lifetimes past, was living another life as someone else, but it's still you, it's still your soul, because your soul never dies. Energy doesn't get destroyed, it just takes different form, different shape, but it never dies. So let's say you, the soul of you, the real you, was had a past life where you were a little bit nutty in that lifetime, and let's keep it innocent. You stole someone's apple. And then you thought you got away with it. You stole the apple, you were eating it, you had fun with it, and oh my goodness, you're happy because no one found out. That's it. Now, well, then you ended up dying and all that stuff, and you think like, okay, well, I got away with it. But Kabbalah is telling us that no one gets away with anything. Even if no one saw that you stole that apple, then what happens is, even if it takes 5 lifetimes later, let's say today or yesterday, you had an apple. It doesn't even have to be an apple for an apple, but like, something similar. But let's say you had an apple, to keep the example very simple, and then someone stole it from you, then our reaction is to get really mad, thinking like, oh my goodness, this is unfair. What did I do to deserve this? We all do it. I do it. Even if I'm aware of the cause and effect law, I do it all the time also, because we're humans, right? It's our default to things to think to like negative thinking right away, and just like thinking like, poor us, what did we do to deserve, the calamities that we're dealing with. But that apple that that was stolen from you, this is where, from a bird eye view, everything is balanced, everything is fair in the universe. Because someone might be thinking, oh, this is so unfair, how can, like, there's no justice in the world, how can, like, what did I do, why did I lose my apple? But this is literally, there was a karmic debt from a few lifetimes prior, where while you were doing your human experience back then, might have done something not so, like a little nutty. Well, guess what? Like, the balance needs to be, it needs to be recalibrated. So it's nothing personal. It's no punishment. It's just cause and effect. It's nothing personal. It's neutral. It's more like there's a minus. Now it needs to be balanced with a plus. It's just the balance. If you ever, I'm thinking about, if you ever go to the market, there's like, in the new counting, you trying to buy some vegetable, and they put it on that old school scale. They need to put something of equal weight on the other side to balance it out. So this is the concept of cause and effect. On that note, oh my goodness, this episode has gone way too long. We will stop right now, and I will probably tackle about the whole cause and effect in future episodes. This was my attempt at starting to introduce more elaborate concepts that I think that we should all be aware of. On that note, my love, I know the times nowadays are a little intense. I'm not gonna pretend they're not. And at the same time, I'm sending you so much love, and we are gonna talk about why it's feeling so intense and so much faster in our current time. We are gonna dive deep into these topics in the upcoming weeks, and in the meantime, do your best to shine bright like a diamond, because this is exactly what is happening right now. We're being compressed like the coal that needs to go through intense pressure in order to transform into a diamond, and that's what's happening to all of us right now. And I will see you in the next one, my love. Bye.